What's the quickest way to lose your job? These days, it's by going viral. So what made Juri Vips viral for all the wrong reasons? And why did Red Bull terminate his contract? Plus, how did Red Bull save one of their drivers from a life-threatening illness? And which Formula One driver is so troublesome that the team hired a psychologist? Don't go anywhere because all of that and more is coming right up. Juri Vips is an Estonian driver who was picked as having a bright future ahead of him. He is a 21-year-old who earned a spot in the Red Bull Junior team after winning the Formula 4 championship and coming fourth in Formula 3. Since 2020, he has served as a test driver for Red Bull while competing in Formula 2. Vips was following in the footsteps of drivers like Carlos Sainz, Pierre Gasly, Sebastian Vettel, and Max Verstappen, but unlike them, his career has been cut short after being dropped from the Red Bull team. Drivers are picked up and dropped all the time in the racing world, but this time it had nothing to do with their performance on the track. Vips was live streaming with fellow Red Bull Junior driver Liam Lawson when he used some obscene language. That might be normal for a 21-year-old, but when he used racially abusive language and the N-word, it was too far for many viewers. The clip quickly went viral, and Red Bull announced that they had suspended Vips pending a full investigation. Not long after that, Red Bull released a statement confirming that Vips had his contract terminated because they did not condone racism of any kind. Vips himself also released a statement on Instagram apologizing for the incident. He said, "This language is entirely unacceptable and does not portray the values and principles that I hold. I deeply regret my actions." Unfortunately for the young Estonian, it was too little too late, but he is still part of the Red Bull program and will continue to drive in Formula 2, with Christian Horner Red Bull team principal Christian Horner hinting that he would get a second chance in the future. When one door closes, another opens. Sometimes it's just for a different person. Liam Lawson was live streaming with Juri Vips at the time of the controversial incident, but it's actually him who is benefiting from it. The 20-year-old New Zealander is another one of the Red Bull team's up-and-comers. After proving himself in Formula 4 and Formula 3, Lawson joined the Red Bull Junior team in 2019. He has been a simulator and test driver for AlphaTauri, but after Juri Vips was dropped from Red Bull, it's Lawson who is stepping up to take his place. Christian Horner confirmed the news and said that the future looks bright for Red Bull. He said, "We've got no shortage of talent coming through, all the way from karting through the different formula. For Horner, this is one of Red Bull's greatest strengths, and it allows them to identify talent while giving young people opportunities." And with Lawson's promotion, he is one step closer to breaking into Formula 1. Alongside his new role as Red Bull's test driver, Lawson is competing in Formula 2 with the Carlin team. After a successful start to the season with 3 podiums in a row, he has fallen away from the championship lead and is now in 10th place. While there is still time in the season, Lawson is almost 100 points away from the leader, and his hopes of this year's title look all but gone. But he will be looking to follow the path of fellow New Zealander Brendan Hartley, who was given a chance to drive at Toro Rosso after years of serving as a reserve driver. Hopefully, Lawson can stick around for a little longer than Hartley did, which was only one full season. Coming up, which driver did Red Bull support through a life-threatening illness? And who did Helmut Marko hire a psychologist for? So don't go anywhere. Strength to strength. There are always a bunch of drivers knocking on the door waiting to get into Formula 1. Most of them are racing in the junior categories of Formula 3 or Formula 2, but some have moved on from there already. Just look at Colton Herta. He's an American driver who made his way through the Formula Series before moving back to his home country and competing in IndyCar racing. He came in second place in the Indy Lights season in 2017 and third place in the IndyCar Series in 2020. He was also the youngest race winner in IndyCar history at just 18 years old. Now, Herta is ready to make the jump to Formula 1. He signed with McLaren as a development driver back in March and will be making his first outing at the Portuguese Grand Prix. McLaren's team principal, Andreas Seidel, said that Herta was a perfect driver to use for their testing day to give him a taste of Formula 1. Seidel said, "We wanted to give him a chance to run a Formula 1 car to show what he is actually able to do in such a car. Once we've tested all the candidates, we will make our mind up who will actually run these free practice sessions." Herta will be competing against other junior drivers for a bigger spot in the team, but given his experience and track record, it's hard to imagine that it's much of a competition. Next up is some good news for another Red Bull Junior driver. Daruvala has been moving his way up through junior categories after being promoted by Force India's One in a Billion hunt back in 2011. Since then, the Indian driver has placed third in Formula 3 and Formula 3 Asia. He took the next big step in his career when he was given a test drive by McLaren at the British Grand Prix around Silverstone. Daruvala drove 130 laps in McLaren's 2021 car, and it sounds like he had fun. Posting on social media after the drive, he said, "What a couple of days it's been. A big thank you again to everyone that made this happen. I had lots of fun and learned so much in just 2 days." Just like Liam Lawson and Juri Vips, Daruvala also competes in the Formula 2 feeder series. He is currently in 4th place in the standings and has scored 5 podiums already this year. The test at Silverstone is part of the new regulations that allow teams to test old cars to gain valuable data. And as part of the Red Bull team, he is guaranteed to get all of the support that he needs. Just ask Formula 3 driver Johnny Edgar, who was diagnosed with Crohn's disease last year, which put a halt to his season. Edgar lost more than 17 kilograms, but was supported by the Red Bull team the whole way through his treatment. Helmut Marko, who is the head of the driver development program, organized doctors and support for the young driver. Edgar was diagnosed just after the Bahrain Grand Prix this year, but amazingly returned to racing for the British Grand Prix. Athletes are known to be temperamental. That's why it can be a big job for teams to keep their drivers under control. Red Bull have revealed just how they are trying to manage one of their star drivers, Yuki Tsunoda, who was promoted to AlphaTauri last year to replace Daniil Kvyat. Tsunoda was part of Honda's Formula Dream project, which helped catapult him to Formula 1 after winning Formula 4 Japan and coming third in Formula 2. His highest place finish was in Abu Dhabi last year when he placed P4. But since the British Grand Prix this year, the spotlight has been shining extra bright. Tsunoda collided with his teammate Pierre Gasly at Silverstone and effectively ruined both their races. Now, Helmut Marko says that he thinks that it's Tsunoda's lack of maturity and bad temper that's getting in the way of him making progress. Marko said, "We should keep our emotions in check. Our problem child in this respect, not only in this respect, is Tsunoda. He explodes on the radio. You wouldn't believe it. That's why Red Bull have hired a psychologist to try and sort Tsunoda's attitude problems out. And it's not the first time that Red Bull management have taken aim at Tsunoda. Last year at the Mexican Grand Prix during Q3, Tsunoda went off the track at turn 10, meaning both Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen had to bail out of their fast laps, leaving them in P3 and P4. Horner said, "I think we got Tsunoda. I don't understand why Tsunoda was just cruising around at that part of the circuit." Getting on Helmut Marko and Christian Horner's bad side? Not a good idea, Yuki. Do you think the Red Bull are being too hard on Tsunoda, or does he need to change his mentality? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.